Hi, everybody, and welcome to a most amazing Moohead Radio Cleveland Browns halftime report with an unbelievable score of Cleveland 38 and the Tennessee Titans 7. Holy cannoli. What a first half of dominance by the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, D-Cup Toe Juice, if you're watching, you called it, buddy, except you called it wrong. You said we were going to lay 40 points on them. We almost did that in the first half. I never would have seen this. I just can't believe that Tennessee came out onto the field and they just looked like a team. Oh, we beat these guys up last year. We're going to do it again. And it is a different year. First of all, the first of alls. We have a real coach who has a real game plan. And what the Tennessee Titans faced last year was Freddie, I live in a manufactured home kitchens, who didn't have a freaking idea about what he was doing. That's one. And the Browns are composed. They've been running this system now all season, and they're doing it without their best wide receivers and still beating people deep. It looks to me like the Tennessee Titans came out to stop the run at all costs, and that left themselves vulnerable in the secondary. They don't have a great secondary, but I think they figured we can cover these receivers on an island, and we're going to make sure that we take Chubb out of this game, which doesn't on the surface seem like a bad plan. And the way Vrabel thinks is that we're a more physical team than they are. But they didn't stop Chubb in the opening drive. Donovan Peoples-Jones made the only real mistake, except for a couple of penalties, by dropping a sure touchdown pass. But other than that, they didn't stop Nick Chubb. We moved down the field. But the play-action pass became viable, and pretty soon all passes became viable as they seemed more and more, just wanting to stop the run game. They didn't believe that the Browns could throw the ball downfield. And when you start seeing Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones, I mean, the DCP touchdown pass, not only a thing of beauty, only one receiver in the entire pattern. And he broke the pattern off like he was just going to be, it's just a little out pattern of the sidelines. And he made what I call, it was like the double move, and froze the Titans secondary guy. And it's just an easy toss and catch for a touchdown. But I mean, again, it seemed to be the Browns playing against these tendencies that the Titans were showing. And it's like, we dare you run, we dare you run. And it's like, okay, we'll pass. And we can do that too. And absolutely true. This is the most points in franchise history in the first half. You're not going to see this every day, folks. This is not the post-game show. I've learned that you never call a game. I don't care how far ahead you are. What I'm really thrilled about is that the Browns, forget the Titans, the Browns came out playing from the first whistle. They stopped Derrick Henry, and that is, again, a judgment call as far as where you place that ball. We only had that backward image of it as far as, the camera behind the line, so we couldn't really see it squared up. But when that move went for Cleveland and that call went for Cleveland and we got the ball back and we just put it right down their throat to go up 10-0, that really just turned the tide of the entire game. They came back with a touchdown to make it 17-7, but even that drive took a perfect throw by Tannehill down the sidelines on a beautiful throw and catch. And the ball in the end zone, the Browns had a defender on the play who just took his eye off and looked into the backfield for a little bit of a long time. The guy bobbled it and managed to hang on. Sendejo was a little bit late getting there to get the second pop and to jar it loose. Other than that, my God, we're getting into the backfield. We were hitting Derrick Henry and slowing him down. And this is what we talked about on Friday. The way you stop, this team is simple. It's not all that simple, but it's simple in concept. If you can get a body on Henry before he builds up a head of steam, it makes it much more difficult for him. And now down 38-7, how much of a factor can he be? The other question is whether Brown, their wide receiver, he looked like he turned that ankle, and that's going to get nothing but worse sitting around at the halftime. They're going to have to retape that thing up and try to keep the swelling down. But that was a non-contact turf injury that it looked like he just turned his ankle. And the only other ball that was thrown to him was overthrown to him, or was it? Or was he half a step slow getting down the field? That you're not going to know for sure, but that takes a big, deep threat away from the Titans in the second half. And again, the play calling and playing against tendencies, and making those tendencies work against your opponent, Rick, is the hugest thing. Baker is, what would we say? Dangerous today. But again, a lot of the rollout action to the left, throwing across his body to open receivers. There's, the constant threat and the specter of the run and everything working together. And the quarterback is throwing the ball where it needs to be thrown. Can't emphasize this enough. An outstanding game plan, a recognition that, if we really want to take that next step, we can be a run-first team, but we got to prove to somebody that we can beat them with the forward pass. And the Browns have beaten their brains in with the forward pass. Take a look at the statistics. 20 of 25 for 290 yards for Baker Mayfield. That is a perfect 154.6 rating, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Tannehill, on the other hand, 9 of 14 for 137 with 1 touchdown. But again, the bottom line is he has a 120 rating. He's the one playing like a game manager. And as far as rushing is concerned, Henry only has 15 yards because there was no opportunity. The Browns were stopping them and getting the ball back. Nick Chubb has only 40 yards. Kareem Hunt only 5 yards. But you see, in the end, the threat of the running game is greater than the running game itself. And you may very well get to see, as changes are made here in the second half and adjustments, that the Browns need to sustain a drive or two for distance just to run clock down, rather than concern themselves with throwing a lot of downfield passes, more precision passes and runs that keep the clock moving. DCP with 2 receptions for 92 yards. Higgins, 5 for 88. Landry, 8 for 62. Chubb, 1 for 26. Hunt, 1 for 11. Njoku caught one. Dearness Johnson caught one. Even Kendall Lamb, for God's sakes, caught one in the end zone. It's as good as it gets, folks. The Cleveland Browns sacked Tannehill once, started getting pressure on him in must-throw situations. Are going to be seeing more of that in the second half. Keep your eye on Sheldon Richardson, who forced a fumble in the first half, and also on Myles Garrett, who really, on one time, allowed Richardson to get a sack by putting pressure from the outside. No sacks at all of Baker Mayfield, and that, speaks volumes about things, absolute volumes. Brown to me looks like he's tender, very ginger on that ankle, and that's a bad break, because it's one thing if you're running a pattern, it's contact and all that, but when it's a non-contact injury, and where he was holding his leg, it looked like the dreaded high ankle sprain. And the high ankle sprain is the one that lasts longer. In a high ankle sprain scenario, you ain't coming back until 4 to 6 weeks. And I've seen people miss more time than that trying to come back too soon from that injury. Again, going for the jugular is, this is an interesting thing, what you consider the jugular to be. Right now, the jugular is the more possession you have of the ball, the more you're going for the jugular. The more physical you are, you're going for the jugular. Now, Tennessee is going to come out with the ball in the second half, and they're going to try to put points on the board in a big furry hurry. The Browns secondary so far has been able to cover the receivers. We'll see what halftime does for Brown and whether he's going to be able to get back at all to anywhere near what he would normally look like in a game. You know, Wable said that's their game plan. And you don't want to take your foot off the gas. You want to continue to play with the same intensity defensively. Defensively, you don't change a damn thing. Offensively, if you have play action pass and running game working for you, you have options underneath. I mean, we surprised the hell out of them on the one wide receiver set, throwing the DCP for a touchdown. And the throw to Higgins in the end zone was spot on, right where it needed to be. But these are our receivers getting behind their secondary guys in single coverage. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Vrabel throws at us in the second half, because what he threw at us in the first half was absolutely wrong. It did not work. So, and we don't know anything, Dave, about Delpit. But without Ward, that's correct. And Greedy Williams, we don't really know anything about Greedy because he's hardly played because he's hurt. I'm amazed too, Dave. I think everybody is amazed. And if people are out of town just watching another game, looking at this score, they think it's a misprint or something. And Jeff and Bam is pointing out that Brown was looking at his leg after the deep throw. He didn't look like he was really getting down the field like he should have. So there's that. Right now, Bronk is looking good. Finally, his Brown slaughter prediction appears to be maybe coming to fruition. What a first half of football. But the thing that's important to me is, like we said on Friday, there comes a time when you put up or shut up. You have to win a big game. And we talked about the fact that Tennessee played lax against teams that they perceived were lesser teams than them. And that early this year, they were winning close games, but giving up 30 points against teams that were really not that good, like the Jacksonville Jaguars when Minshew was playing. Well, they come out this game and they look like they were half asleep. The turnover, the rarity of a Henry fumble, and all of the things piled up. And by the time they opened their eyes, they were down 17-0. And when they tried to turn the corner, the Browns just kept their foot on their throat and just kept moving the ball offensively. So what can I tell you, folks? This is as good a first half as I have seen in the Browns in decades and decades and decades. And I've been watching for a lot of them. So let's hope that this continues on. We'll be back after the game on the post-game show, and let's hope I'm in as ebullient, SAT word, a mood as I am now after the game. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you after the game, and until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Go Browns! Woo!